to me, for all the blessings that I cannot see. Thank you. Thank you, Lord.
In fact, I have a confession. I didn't believe that there were so many men also interested in family and human life, because you always find more women than men. True or true? That's true. So all the men, yes. All the men, please stand up. All the men here, stand up. All the men stand up. Wait. And the women, because men don't do this as often as women do. There were more women following Jesus Christ, right? For the 12 apostles, for every one apostle, there must have been 20 women. But for these few apostles that are here, women, please give them a round of applause. Thank you very much. You can sit down. So now, to the larger group of the house, women, please stand up. You see these women, they are the rocks, they are the bastions, they are the support. Crying night and day, praying. The only worry they have, the primary worry is about their family. True or true? Men, please give them a round of applause that is very loud, that they can hear. Give them a round of applause. All right. Thank you very much. We may all be seated. But before we start, I'd like to welcome and recognize, first and foremost, our host, our pillar, our most profound support. In fact, I like to call him Prof, because he has a PhD. Ladies and gentlemen, please warmly welcome our dear host, Very Reverend Monsignor Bernard Ayodele Okodwa. A round of applause. Please, a round of applause. Let's warmly welcome him while we stand. Thank you. A round of applause for Monsignor. We would also like to welcome the true pillar, a true pillar of FHLU. In fact, on Sunday I was arguing with someone. I was saying, this woman, everywhere, she's teaching, she's doing this, she's giving herself selflessly to the cause of marriage, not just in the Catholic Archdiocese of Lagos, but all over where families are. There was once I was telling someone, I said, even Pentecostals will call her, and then she will go and teach them. They will now mirror it, put Bible scripture, and turn it into their own. And the person said to me, this is evangelism. In fact, my anger melted. It wasn't really anger, it was just mild vex. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome warmly the pillar of FHLU, Dame Bridget Itsueli. A round of applause for her. The next person I will call is another beautiful lady. I haven't had the pleasure to meet her. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Flora Gaptoni. A round of applause for her, please. The next person I would like to call to the high table is another distinguished lady. Please warmly welcome Mrs. Agnes Wandu. Welcome, ma. I don't know her, so thank you. I'm pleased to meet you. Thank you very much. The next person I will like to introduce is someone I respect profoundly. A seasoned banker, evangelizer, member of the Pastoral Finance Committee, everything. Please warmly welcome Mrs. Philomena Imwagene. Welcome. Please, ma. Yes, go to the front, ma. So you see that apart from Monsignor, the table is just women, Abi? You see? You see, part of the problem is that men, we don't carry placard. If we shout quickly like these women are shouting, they will know that we too, we cry. Abi? Do men cry? Who say men don't cry? Please, for the man on this panel, please welcome Mr. Okonofoa. A round of applause for him. You're welcome, sir. Now I know somebody that I look like. We look alike, don't we? In a short while, we will call the remainder of the people to the high table. It's going to be a day of interesting conversations, breakout sessions. Because what we have to do here is to be able to learn more about domestic violence, to be able to empower people and know what the church says about domestic violence and what we can do. So that I don't spill the beans, and while we wait to call the rest, we will begin the program with the opening prayer, which will be taken by Very Reverend Monsignor Bernard Ayodele Okoda. Shall we rise?
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Let us invoke the Holy Spirit to guide our deliberations today, because without him we can do nothing. Come, Holy Ghost, Creator, come from thy bright heavenly throne. Come take possession of our souls and make them all thy own. Thou who art from the Paraclete, set it from us above. The living Spirit, the living facilitation and true love. All glory to the Father, with his co-equal Son. Blessed to be great Paraclete, while endless age is strong. Send forth your spirit, O Lord, and they shall be created. And they shall renew the face of the earth. Let us pray. O God, who by the light of the Holy Spirit, grace restore the hearts of your people, grant that by the Lord of the Holy Spirit, we may be truly wise and ever rejoice in holy consolation. Through the same Christ our Lord. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Holy Family of Nazareth, pray for us. Our Lady Queen of Nigeria, pray for us. Saint Anthony of Padua, pray for us. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you very much, Monsignor. Quickly, would like to also invite two beautiful, lovely mothers and women. Mrs. Solape Azazi. Is she here? Okay, thank you, Solape. The first time I met her and she told us her story, I felt very teary. You know, sometimes when we talk of domestic violence, we just think that it is just the man batting the woman and all that. But also, I also had met somebody that because of having a child that was challenged, the husband left her. That also is violence. So I like the way she shared her story with us and how she's been able to move with her child. I would love her to also tell us that part of the story. She's a strong woman, and I felt quite touched by her story of knowing the how the child was going, and then she accepted the whole thing, and today she's doing a lot to help a lot of autistic children. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I would also like to welcome Mrs. Helen Ebomele. She's also doing amazing work in the diocese in curbing and teaching.
Right now, we would listen to a welcome address from our Chief Shepherd, His Grace Most Reverend Dr. Alfred Adewale Martins. He has kept a message for us. Let's listen with love and attention. Thank you very much.
Today, the 29th of July, 2023, I am delighted to say a warm welcome to all of you, marriage coordinators and facilitators in the Archdiocese of Lagos. To say welcome to you as you begin this conference. The conference is a very important one because it treats the issue of domestic violence. Domestic violence, as we know, is very much present in our world today. It almost should not have been heard of at all, but regrettably is also present in marriages within the church. And that is why it is absolutely important that we participate actively in this conference. Get all the knowledge that you can. Get all the awareness that will be created. And ensure that you do not just keep all of these to yourselves, but as you carry out your duties in your different parishes, bring this awareness to people in order to for them to make the effort to avoid domestic violence in any way at all, to avoid all the factors that could bring domestic violence, and to do everything within their power to ensure that marriage that is meant to be a thing of joy really is a thing of joy to both man and woman, free of violence of any sort, whether physical, emotional, verbal, or economic. We must ensure that we do not allow this to rob couples of the joy of married life. And therefore, I once again encourage all of you facilitators and coordinators to take full advantage of what this conference offers so that together we can ensure that domestic violence is removed, and by extension, ensure that violence of any kind is reduced in our society, as children within these families will have learned that we do not treat disagreements or conflicts by violence, but rather by prayers, but also by dialogue. I pray that all of you will be fully energized by what you receive here today, and that you'll go back ready to carry on your duties. May God bless you. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
All right, so I will take the next speech by Flora Gatoni, and she's talking about voiceless violence. Please let's give her a round of applause.
Hello. Hi. Okay. Are we excited? Yes. Okay. Flora Gatoni is my name. I'm a teacher, educator, and psychologist. Currently, I head the training and leadership development I teach for Nigeria. But above all, I'm also a cancer warrior. That means I live with cancer. And I also have an NGO I'm setting up for people living with cancer, just to help them live their life, even when they are still dealing with cancer. And when Martina said something about her, and how the husband left because the child had autism. I just remembered an experience I had talking about a wife. The husband left because the child was diagnosed with cancer. Tell me, is it the wife's fault? So there was no pity. But then the violence is, carry your child. I don't have strength. Alright, we are ready. Alright, so today we are going to talk about something special to me. Why is it special? My own experience, and also the experiences of so many people I've counseled, I've talked to. So it's all about telling stories. We are going to tell stories today, a lot of telling stories. That's what we are going to do today. A lot of telling stories. All right, so, are we here? I don't have a paper, please. I purposely do not have a paper. Because one thing I've realized is when you give people papers during conferences, they are reading and they are not listening. Today we are going to talk. You guys know this thing more than I do. So please, let's be here. You are only writing, you are not reading anything. So why I don't give papers, aside you not reading, it helps you be here. When I was teaching at University of Lagos, I realized that when I give my students papers, they will pretend that they've read it. And they will come to class and be doing. So it's better after the class, they are with me, I'm asking them questions. So there's a lot of questions. Do we have microphone somewhere? I'll ask a lot of questions and then we are sharing knowledge. I'm not here to teach you. All of us here love families and we've been counseling, we've been reaching out to families, so I'm not here to teach. We know all this. So going forward, the first question, are you here? All right. The first question says, without a physical scar, there is no violence, yes or no? There is a yes somewhere. Without a physical scar, there is no violence, yes or no? No. I'm still hearing yes. Without a physical scar, there is no violence, yes or no? No. Okay. Someone says yes. Let's hear from her. Okay, so this one can go around. All right. Thank you. So, someone says yes. We are going to hear from someone who said yes and someone who says no. 1 minute. Your time starts now. Okay. This
I changed my position.
You changed your. Okay. So you didn't hear us properly. Okay. I'm asking the question again. Are we here? I'm asking the question again. Without a physical violence, without a physical scar, there is no violence. Yes or no? No. Okay. No. I'm saying both sides. Yes. If you say yes, please, can I see your hand? And you need to explain to us. Is it the grammar that is confusing us? So, okay, someone wants to explain. If there is no wound, I didn't slap you, there is no mark on the body, is there a physical violence? Is there still violence if I'm not seeing the scar? Okay, let's move. Second question. Are physical marks the only evidence of abuse? No. We all agree? Yes. Awesome. So there's no need, no query. All right. Time for my story. Story. All right. There are 3 scenarios I'm going to play today, and all of us will find solutions to these scenarios. Number 1, the mass profession. We know them. They are even here. They are in our parishes. Please come to the next slide. I call them the Martins. The Martins, that's the husband, the wife, and the children. First of all, perfect family. You see them in church, they are holding hands. They can even be wearing the same blouse, the same uniform. You see them, in fact, you envy them. I remember when we were doing the theology here, family she admired so much, but when she heard that they fought, it broke her heart. This family, perfect life, they live in the best houses, their children go to the best schools, and you are praying that your children marry that kind of husband, and they go to that kind of school. This family, when there is something happening in church, they are the first to show up. In fact, they are even married, what do you call those who, sponsors. In fact, the number of sponsors, the number of marriages they sponsor, you can't count them. They are everywhere. And we move on. But behind closed doors, what happened? So Mr. Martins, very rich man, and picked up Mrs. Martins, maybe from the village or anywhere, and every other day, she reminds her that if I did not bring you to Lagos, you would have been eating cocoyam in the village. Yeah, but it's true. If the children makes mistake, you are a worthless woman, it's because you are not treating your children very well. I will tell you because that's my family as well. That's my mother, that's my father. Rich, everybody, in fact, the number of sponsored marriages they've had, I can't count them. But hey, beyond that thing that people see, is a man who belittles his wife. I can't forget a scenario. Like we were coming back from, I think, the office in the car, and then because my mother was driving and there were other people. In fact, the worst of it is that this abuse happened in front of other people who are not even family. Because my mom jumped a gallop, come and see abuse from my father. Useless, you cannot even drive videos, all those things. In my very ears, I wanted to stop the car and come out. There were two cousins there in the car, and in front of, they know that I'm telling the world their story, because I told them I'm going to teach because of some of the things. We are better off now because I read psychology, and the reason why I read psychology is because I want to teach people. I learned science of forgiveness, and that's what is happening and healing the home now. But it was deep, very deep. Up till now, I don't think my siblings can ever forgive my dad. It wasn't just her, it was us. Come and ask my dad for money, we'll compare you with another family. I remember, it's well. Tell you how this person did, this person is amazing, this person is this one. In fact, we got to a point where we have to write. If you want to ask my dad for money for pad or something, and when we were growing up, you write it and put it on his table. His mind will speak if he wants to give you the money. But now, I will tell you the repercussion of all that when we get to that point. Let's move. Issues Mrs. Martins faced. Emotional and psychological abuse. Every day she's crying. The children are not seeing it. The church is not seeing it. They are seeing her makeup. They are seeing her makeup and the beauty of wherever she's going to. Oh, she's traveling. In our church, I had a situation having to speak with one woman. And I asked her, why are you still there? She who said after the abuse, the husband will pay for her trip to Dubai. She enjoys the luxury, the change of cars after her abuse. All that matters to her. But the fact that she is drowning, she even said, I wish I could commit suicide. But beyond that, there is still money coming in and she's enjoying the money. Because she wants to still live with the family, the friends. That's status. Let's move. Gaslighting, manipulation. Have you seen those people? They remind you of everything. In fact, your life is full of, oh my. They will remind you, manipulate you, they will tell you the reality. In fact, at a point, you will even start thinking that you are that thing. By the time they keep calling you names, you will start thinking that you are that thing. You are useless, you don't know anything, your family is worthless. And before you know it, you start asking your question, I think my family is worthless. Yes, I think my family is worthless. I think I don't know anything. I think I cannot even progress. Move on. Yeah. Quick. All right, financial control. Have you seen them? The Mr. Martins, who would refuse that their wife go to school, refuse that their wife work because of control. They don't want her to be making money so that he's in control. If there is a need for crayfish or pepper or pad, they will have to ask, do you know them? Have you seen any? In your counseling, have you witnessed them? Yes. You must not be doing anything. I was having a conversation with my sister over here. A woman who called me from Kaduna, only God knows who gave her my number, and said she wants to commit suicide. I said, why? She said she wants to go to school, but her husband says she will not go to school. And I said, okay, why would that lead to you committing suicide? She said it's not even just about that. It's the fact that I'm not doing anything, I'm at home. Every time he says to me, oh, after this baby, you will go to, and they are outsiders. After this baby, you will go to school. After this baby, you will go to school. It's all lies. He doesn't want her to go to school. He just wants her to depend on him. And when I said to him or her, remember that going to school doesn't make you rich or whatever. She said it's not about being rich. It's about I need to be free. I need to know. And I said, okay, we'll go to school. Let's find a way. And we are still on that way because the husband refused to speak with me. Let's do isolation from friends. They take away your friends from you, your family. But I'm happy. That's one thing my father couldn't do. My mother had her friends, her family, her backbone. The children. We grew up and we saw loads of things. If you are in a car with my dad for 30 minutes, all he's talking about is how useless my mom is to us when we were growing up. But when we grew up, we saw it. We saw that woman who fought. What should Mrs. Martin do in this situation? Any idea? See, when you pick the microphone, you have 30 seconds and your time has already started.
First and foremost, she should not let what the husband is saying get into her. She should keep telling herself, I'm more than what they call me.
How easy is that?
It's difficult, but then she should speak out.
Man, 30 seconds is good. Thank you. Sir, someone is, I will just be picking because you have other questions and I want to be quick.
Perseverance and focus.
Perseverance and focus.
Persevere and also focus on what you want to do, where you're going. Thank you.
Okay, so we are going to take another man and another woman here and we are done.
Being patient and on a good day, speak to the husband.
Being patient for that, I'll be 40 this year. So my mother should have been patient for 40 years. That's a good advice. I love that. And she has been patient, and now she's reaping the fruit of her patience. See, that's a beautiful one. But then, if it can have limits. Okay. We take one more man.
I think Mrs. Martins should seek good counsel.
Seek good counsel. Awesome. We all know Mrs. Martins. They could be our neighbors, our close friends, acquaintances, and even us. Even us. Moving on. The numbers do not lie. National Population NPC study. 19% of all violences we have, 19% of all violences we have psychological violence. So the one that we are not speaking, the one that doesn't have scar, is 19%. The physical one that you see is merely how many percent? 14. So we are in trouble, isn't it? All right. Scenario number 2. Another story. Are you with me? Let's call this the echo chamber. 2 children in a family. One is being treated very well. The other one is olodo, as we call them. You don't know anything. Your sister is better, your brother is better. Meet their delegates. A father, a son, a stepmom, and an ostracized daughter. I don't know if we are going to target because she's a woman or a lady or a girl. But whatever it is, it can happen both gender. Sometimes there is a preference to one. Or maybe she looks like me, I should love her more. The challenges. Fumilayo, that's the girl who is being ostracized, lost the mother at young age. Remember, there's a stepmom. Constant relocation and instability affected her. So the family, they've been moving, she's losing her friends, she's losing the people she knows every time we relocate. Instability, academic struggle, she's not doing well in school. Who is putting her through? No one. Is it that daddy is busy or mommy has other important things? And she's a stepmom, what do you expect? There is always important thing to do. And then there's lack of understanding from the parents. She wants to speak to somebody. She's a teen. She wants to speak with somebody. Nobody is listening. Nobody is hearing what she's saying. That is us. Nobody wants to hear you. I remember one time, I think I was 21 at the time. Was it 21? No, I think 17, 18. I wrote a 12-page letter to my father. 12 pages. 12 pages, that's what I wrote. And I told him how he's busy building the church and he wants to go to heaven. 12 pages. How you are going to go and buy people. Building things for the church, every abba. But we use nylon to go to school. There is a good side of him, I will tell you that. But I'm picking out because there is something we are talking about. And what are the effects? Declining mental health. It happened to us. Did I tell you I ran away from home? I came to Lagos on my own. I couldn't bear it anymore. I left them in Onitsha. I came to Lagos on my own. And for 7 years, I was a school dropout in Lagos, mingling everywhere. Because I needed to find my voice. I needed to be whole again. Mental health. When I saw psychology in one place that I was, I didn't know what psychology means. But when I picked that paper, it says the sign of the mind. I said, this is me healing. And I went to study psychology at age 25. The reason why I made first class in psychology is not because I know more than every other person in the class. I was intentional about my healing. So when I'm reading a book, I'm not reading what somebody wrote. I'm reading my experience. I'm trying to find forgiveness. That's when I read The Science of Forgiveness, a book by one author, one author, I've forgotten his name. And that shaped me. And I told my daddy, I'll forgive you, not because of you, but because of me. I need to fly. Resentment towards siblings. We didn't have that because as everybody was just together to fight and just live well. Social withdrawal. Yes, I withdrew from social. Everybody. I just stayed on my own. Everybody. Academic decline at the time. But then when you got yourself, when you decided to forgive, it makes all the difference. All right. How can we help her? Any advice? What do you suggest?
Helping her is to identify her and counsel her, giving her counseling and leading her to the right path.
All right. Thank you. Okay, ma'am.
Yes, you have to counsel the lady, the child, and help the child one way or the other. Because, like, I have a similar case.
Oh my.
Because my daughter, my last daughter, it was terrible. because she was like, from the beginning, she didn't know anything. And my husband will abuse and abuse and abuse her. At a stage, she has to write a suicidal letter to us that she's not coming back to the house after school. Why? Because the father would always scold her, you are nothing but a waste. In fact, I don't know why I should have a child like you. And because of it, she was so traumatized. But due to God giving help, I was there. I had to go to school to beg the teachers to please help her. And because of the help, the prayer, and everything, in fact, I wouldn't tell you that in her third year in university, she was given the award of best student. And yesterday she graduated.
Wow! Are we clapping or we're not clapping? I have goose pimples. Awesome. I think it's good that we share experiences. I'm not here to tell you stories though. I can decide not to talk about my own story and come here and run scripts for you. But that's not why we're here. We're here to share experiences, and because we are helping out in the family. Ma, you have 30 seconds. Your time has started already.
I have one at hand now because I have a shop, and that shop is nearer to a school. So I saw this girl, you always come to school very late, and I asked her, what's the problem? She said, I have to clean the house, I have to wash, I have to ask, how old are you? She's just 10. I said, you are doing that, are you living with your mom? He said, no, that he's living with his uncle. I have to call the uncle because I asked her to give me the phone number of the uncle. And when the uncle came, I said, why? Is it your daughter? Maybe another woman had it for you before you married the other one. He said, no, that is her father's last wife, daughter. I said, the way this girl is looking, I don't like it too. He did not make agreement with me that, okay, that every morning, if the child is going to school, he should come to my shop to collect some food item. That will be paying me every monthly. That is what we are doing right now.
Awesome.
So the way the thing is going is like, I don't know whether to report or not. That's what I'm taking advice.
Okay. You need to voice out. Sir, my time is like smoking fire. But can I give you 10 seconds? Just 10. Like, it has already started, 5 has gone.
Beyond reaching the victim, I think we also need to reach out to the parents.
I love that. And that's why we are here.
We have to make them understand the damage they are doing to such a person.
That's why we are here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That's why we are here. As educators, as ministers, to talk with our parents. All right. Final scenario. The third one. Meet the doers. Remember what I call this one? Generational shadows. Grandpa Idu, Grandma Idu, Mary, and her 2 daughters. So we have 2 parents. All the children saw was the abuse from grandpa to grandma. That's all they saw. The abuse, the talking down on, they all the sayings. Sometimes men say, I'm not going to eat food. They don't understand how violent that is. And they're not even talking. They're not even saying anything to anybody. And those children, that's what they saw. The trauma, don't blame grandpa. He's very busy, overworked. He needs to make fine for the family. And when he comes back, because of those stress, that's sometimes the excuse we give about violence. I was stressed today. That's why I'm nagging. We'll get to that. Is this enough reason to nag if you're very stressed? Grandma took frustration on one daughter. So, all the frustration Papa is giving to Mama, Mama is transferring it to who? Are we together? Yes. Mama is transferring it to who? Because she doesn't have power to face the man. So she's going to face the child. That's a different scenario. It's not in my own scenario, but this is a similar thing that we see every time. And what happens? 18 years later, married to her 2 daughters. Frustration. That's all she learned. She didn't see love in the family. All she saw was beating, it could be physically, arguments, snapping, throwing things up and down, and that's what she's giving to the children. Mary, victim of her mother's aggression, perpetuates cycle with her daughters. Perpetuates cycles with her daughters. You will see some people, when you ask them, that's all they know. They don't even know. And what do we do with this kind of people? We show them another path. You can't give what you don't have, isn't it? So that's what they know. And repetitions. Repetitions. If these 2 children, nobody take care of them, they will go about and abuse. Remember, that's not an excuse of an abuse. I felt abuse, and when a man says, Flora, hi, I'm looking at you, I don't want to marry my father. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. So I'm going to question every hello you say to me. So, because in my head, I'm thinking, I don't want every morning I wake up, I'm worried. In fact, my mother every day reminds me that her American visa is expired. She wants to go back. But she feels safe. Safer then. What should Mary do in this situation? 2 persons. What should Mary do in this situation? 2 persons. Okay.
Similar to what you did, she should get psychological help and work on healing, because it's generational trauma. It's psychological healing, it's spiritual healing, it's emotional healing. She has to break the generational curse so that it doesn't pass down to her children.
Thank you so much. And it doesn't just, Uncle, you've spoken before, God bless you. I'm going to give to someone else.
She would also need to be intentional about working on herself.
Yes.
Very, very intentional. And because even after getting the healing, it starts from within.
Yes.
Anything that would annoy her, she has to have that restraint.
Yes.
Once she can master the skill of restraining herself, then she's on the road to victory and success. Thank you.
Profound. Can we give her a round of applause? It has to be an intentional way of breaking all the generational issues. All the generational issues. I remember one day, someone told us from the family that my grandfather hated my great-grandfather hated my grandfather. And that's, my grandfather doesn't really hate my father, but then he wasn't there. And that's the same thing happening here. Between the female part of the family, we are even luckier. The guys, they don't see eye to eye with my father. And that's generational. That's what he learned. And that's why forgiveness was important to me. Because I don't want to make excuses for him, but when you know better, you do better. All right. Okay. All right. I have 5 minutes and I'm going to run. So, we are going now to we've already discussed everything I want to say now. We have already discussed everything I want to say now. But I'm just going to give us a breakdown. Violence. Violence. What does it mean? Voiceless violence. What does it mean? An invisible form of aggression that includes persistent emotional abuse, constant humiliation, and control. Constant humiliation and control. It targets the mental health. I'm not going to beat you, but I'm going to make life miserable for you in this house. Have you heard that before? Yes. I'm not going to touch you, but in this family, you want to go. What are the key signs we are looking for? Low self-esteem. So when you see somebody isolating herself with low self-esteem, changes in behavior and appearance. You see this woman, she's always elegant, beautiful, but before you know it, she's in her shell. She's not talking to anybody. She's not doing anything. She doesn't even want to be part of your group meeting in the church. There's something going on, you need to find out. Don't wait for her to come and tell you. Ask questions. Then there's mental health issues. Issues of depression and people wanting to commit suicide. Sometimes when you beat people, well, Shebi, we grew up like that, even in school. Shebi, auntie will flog me, let's flog. But that abuse of you are worthless, olodo, all those things that you tell your children, that you tell, even as teachers, it has a deep impact. Like, you can't control what it means and how it will manifest when they grow up. So, for our abusers, what do they use? Number one, gaslighting. Do you know what it means? Yes. They will make you see yourself as even, you start questioning, am I really my mommy's daughter? Am I really this person? That's the kind of question you'll be asking yourself in your head. Silent treatments, that's what they use. They will not eat food. They will not enter house. They said they were traveling for 2 days. They will be gone for 3 weeks. And they will not tell you anything. No. We see them every day, even in our counseling sessions. Blame shifting. The children are not doing well. It's you. There's no light in the house. It's you. This woman, what less of you? This thing, you cannot go market. You cannot even buy something good. There's a lot of blame happening everywhere. Just one person. Isolation. They decide to stay on their own. They don't want to talk about everything. So let's look at the causes quickly. Number one is power and control. We've talked about it. Remember the first story we heard. We just want to be in control. And that's also where financial violence comes in. To be in control at all times. There are people who want to be in control. It could even be from the father, it could even be from the mother. It could be from both sides. Especially if the woman is making more money. Some of them doesn't know how to handle that. Then the past traumas that you've had as a child. If I didn't break my own trauma, I could get married tomorrow, and what I'm thinking about is how I'm going to even do more. I'm going to retaliate. After all, that's what my father did. Let me do it. Mental health issue, we talk about that. And cultural and societal norms. This is also where the church norms comes in. What are we doing? Oh, stay in this marriage. You can't divorce your husband. We know. But you can't stay when you're about to die. You leave first to leave. And then we come back and have conversation. I know the church do not want me to say that, but I'm saying. So finally, what are the possible impacts of voiceless? The impact, we talked about it. You cannot impair, like the relationship is broken for life. No matter how we try to patch the relationship with our father, we've forgiven, we talk, but there's something in your mind. The relationship has been impaired. Suicidal tendencies. Everybody wants to. I can't live anymore. I've never had any thoughts of suicidal tendencies. I can't remember. The only thing I need to do, I left home and decided to fought for myself. Feelings of confusion, anxiety, shame. Women do not want to talk about anything. They don't want to come out again. Even men. I'm calling men and women. All this thing I'm saying, women do it too. Then long-term mental health problems. What are the strategies? What can we do? We've already talked about them. What can we do? What are the ways out? Increase awareness that we are doing now. And when we go back during this week of family, we are talking about it. We are lamenting. We are crying. We are asking them to come and be educated. Come and be healed from your trauma so that you are not taking it down to your children. That's what we are doing. First of all, we need to create awareness of this psychological violence. At these days, I don't talk about physical violence at sessions or events. Because as a psychologist, I've seen this numerous times. In my counseling, in my talking to, in my speeches, everything. This is 19%, and we have physical one as 14. That means we have a lot of work to do. Are we together? All right, the next one is promote communication. Allow people to discuss this. Let people share their stories. We are always hiding behind the clouds. We don't want people to say, oh, this is our bad family. Come out and say it. Let people see that you've healed. And because you've healed, you can talk about every other person. It's the same thing I'm battling with, getting cancer warriors to come and speak or survivors to come and speak. They don't want people to tag them as cancer warriors. Why? Why? And that's why if they diagnose you for cancer one day, the next day you are dead, because you already in your mind, you are saying it's not curable. Professional help, seek help. Even as counselors, we also need help. Everybody needs help. All right. Community support, like we are doing now, FHLU, their community. What support are we giving to one another? Empower through education. Teach, keep teaching, keep talking, keep teaching, keep talking. And the final one, which is the best one, the love of my life, forgiveness. In fact, these days I used to tell people, there's nothing you will do to me. In fact, I'm forgiving you before you even do that thing. Because I read the science of forgiveness back to back. And I know that when I forgive you, I'm not doing you a favor. I'm doing myself a favor. So I go ahead and forgive you irrespective of that. So, forgiveness and recovery. Recovery takes a lot. There's something I usually write. I write about hope and healing. So if you're on LinkedIn, you can find it there, hope and healing. There's something about recovery. It's not something that happens in a day or 2 days. It can take years. And as counselors, please stop telling people in 2 months, in 3 months, you'll be fine. It's not done. They will relapse. Tell them it will take years. If it takes you 15 years to amass all this trauma, it's not going to take you 2 years to just let it go. It's a gradual process. And it's like a lifestyle changes. All right. And my final word is this. Where words might fade, the scars of violence, of voiceless violence, remain, echoing in the silent chambers of the heart. Can we read that together?
Where words might fade, the scars of voiceless violence, remain echoing in the silent chambers of the heart.
Okay, this one. There were no actions, there were no talking to, but that scar remains inside. And it takes us, you and me, to support people going through this. And with that, I say thank you to you. If you have questions, I can take. I don't know how to plan. But thank you for listening.
A warm round of applause. Powerful story. Thank you for your story. Thank you for being vulnerable. Not only with your victory over disease, but also of the stories of the past so that we can all learn and improve from it. And she's actually flourishing Flora. Huh? So maybe we should all have adjectives to our name. Maybe I'll call myself Fantastic Femi. All right. Please write down your questions. Write down your questions, right? There's a panel discussion. We're going to take a lot of the conversations. I know that the room is energized. All right. So we welcome for her keynote speech, Dame Bridget Itsweli. A round of applause for her.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Good morning, Monsignor, and thank you very much. Marital love is wounded by domestic violence. Well, thank you very much for an amazing presentation of the matter and the contributions that you have all made. There are many things that go wrong. On the wedding day, I always like to go back to the wedding day. On the wedding day, we say, I take you to hug and to hold if I have this thing and I'm not holding it long enough, it can drop. So the whole point about the vows that we take is a certain synergy between what I have taken and myself. I'm holding it. I'm holding it tight. This is why I think that we really need to look at the issue of domestic violence. The Catechism tells us marriage is ordered to the good of the spouses. And then the priest asks on the wedding day, the man and the woman, will you love each other as man? Will you love and honor each other as man and wife for the rest of your lives? What do they answer? Yes, I do. And what do we do when they say that? We laugh. Then the next thing, a week into the marriage, he says, my breakfast is not ready. I paid your bride price. That means I bought you. Yes? It doesn't matter whether your parents said it's a token. The whole concept of bride price, whether as a token or as a reality of 40 million, is the notion that you own me, the husband. And this is the mindset of many, many, many Nigerian men. I went to a UNIFEM meeting, and the United Nations has statistics of domestic violence in Nigeria. They say 50%. That means that 1 in every 2 women has experienced domestic violence. If I were to take a statistic right now, I can tell you that everyone here has either heard of, known of, someone who was abused. That means 100% of us in this room know of domestic violence. And most likely do not know the same person. True or false? True. Now, what's that telling you? It's a pandemic. It's an epidemic. And we sit down, and when a woman is beaten, we ask a question. What did you do that he beat you? When is this the man that his wife beats? There are men whose wives beat them. Let's not forget that. Yes. We don't even know what the figures are. A check that I did in five parishes in this Lagos, across social divides and economic divides, in the Archdiocese of Lagos. That was monitored for me and done for me by NISA in Ibadan and the University of Nsukka. And they came with almost identical figures. 37% of Catholic men beat their wives. I thank God for that. You know why I thank God for that? Because in the secular world it's 50%. At least in the church, it is not 50%. But 37% is bad. That 10% of Nigerian Catholic women beat their husbands is bad. It should exist after we take a vow to love and to honor, to have and to hold, to love and to cherish. Oh my goodness, what a violation of love. Secondly, the good of the spouses presupposes that we take care of each other. Can you imagine the very place from where you expect to be taken care of? What do you get? Trouble. Flora spoke about the trauma of that. The place that I am supposed to be comfortable, that is where the needles are. That's where the needles are. And then we say casually to the person, what did you do that made him put a needle in your bed? Is there any justification for putting a needle in my bed? No. You just wake up, go and buy pins, and you put the pins all over my bed. And you make sure I stay there and I lie on it. What did I do to deserve that? Answer me. No matter the evil that I committed. And so we need to truly look at this. I think Flora has given a very good thought, so I don't want to go into the social aspects of this. This week, Martina and I saw a little boy. His body was wheels. Why does he hate the auntie he lives with? She beats him. And he now wants to go to his father. Martina, I followed up on that case. The father refused to talk to me and said we had no right to want to help the son. And warned the mother to go and take the boy away from where he can be helped. That's the situation. Intentional wickedness. To children, I tell parents, are there no better ways of teaching a child? And I want to say to you this morning, if you are fond of encouraging domestic violence of children, the same statistic is given by the UNICEF. 50% of children are abused in Nigeria. If you add sexual violence, make it 75. Many 5-year-olds have had sex. Did you hear me? Yes. That's domestic violence. By a cousin, a brother, somebody that the child knows. Flora said something. When you see a child being quiet, not talking, befriend the child. It is very sad that both father and mother feel it is the role only of a mother to raise a child. It's a very demonic concept. God did not give a child a father and a mother so that only the mother will raise the child. Then the child does not need a man, a mother. Therefore, we should stop speaking about it is bad to be a single mother. We should stop talking about the problems of raising children alone. We need to change our psyche. That's all this conference is about. To say to you, we at FHLU recognize that domestic violence is so much, it's worse than ever before. I know an NGO that does shelter, so we call the NGO. But before then I asked her, I said, what did you study? She said, medicine. I said, you did medicine and you don't find a way of getting out of this? She said, from the day we got married, my husband says, don't work. She was doing her house job when they got married. He truncated it. That was a red flag. There are many red flags. You will see them in this paper. Domestic violence is not something, I'm not saying what is here, because you have it to read. Flora said another thing. Read. Domestic violence is something that we don't expect. At the traditional marriage ceremony of a girl, the husband of her fiancé, the father of her fiancé, arrived late because he was coming from another state. And they had left home very early. But on the way, they had a flat tire. So they were not able to meet the time that the in-laws gave. Their son was pacing up and down, worried, justifiably. When he saw the father, what you had expected him to do is, oh, Daddy, what happened? Not that. Slap!
The father is hard.
Push! And the girl was watching because she had just, she too ran out when she heard the car had come. They were really late. So they continued with the wedding. Today, not only has he been, eventually she ran away. He pursued her. Went to where she ran to. Reported her to the government as an illegal immigrant with the 2 children. And sued her to court. And took with him 11 SANs from Nigeria to fight her. In England, they can be kind. So they said to her, go back. But give us the example of the beatings. The first thing we tell you to tell a person who is abused, if he has beaten you and there's a wound, take a photograph. Do a video. That's your salvation. This lady went to hospital because once he was beating her, he pushed her down the stairs. She had wounds all over. Let me say to you, when we say for better, for worse, domestic violence is not part of this, for worse. I know. They say to you, for better, for worse. An abuser is a sick man. Yes. And if he does not go for therapy, he should be abandoned. Yes. Because the sickness is an incapacity to live the marriage vows. He lacks the capacity to be true to the vows that he took. Therefore, what the church will do, and what I'm asking us to do, those of you who are counselors, don't condemn the abuser. Never condemn the abuser, because you don't know what his antecedents are. This little boy that we are seeing will end up being an abuser. So that abuser you are looking down on needs help. And the help he needs is not you to justify and validate what he's doing. There are many church societies, and there are many men in our church societies who beat their wives. Many, many, many. I was invited to a talk, and the wife called me before the talk and said, please, ma'am, say something about domestic violence. So I said, that's not part of my talk. She said, please, ma'am, begging you. My husband will be listening. He'll be coming to that event. So I decided, you know, as a speaker, you can add anything. Yes. So I decided after I finished to add, immediately 6 men stood up, almost as if it was planned. Mrs. Itzweli, that is not the subject of your talk. So I looked at their president, whether I should stop or not. And the president stood up and said, we invited Mrs. Itzweli to speak. We did not give her, we did not cage her. And what it is the topic she's doing, she can use anything as an example. Mrs. Itzweli, please go on. Do you know what the woman did? I didn't know she was there. She got up and forgot herself and started clapping. When she realized what she had done, she had revealed both herself and her husband. She had called me privately and I didn't know who she was. She just said, our society is having a talk and you are speaking. Please speak about domestic violence. And fortunately for her, the president took it very seriously. And we had meetings with the 6 men and discovered that they were very, very violent. Yes. And it was sad because the men themselves were victims of a brutal childhood. They never knew love. There is a quote from John Paul that I like very much. He said, a person who does not know love is senseless to that person. Love is senseless to that person. So please, while we're talking about the victim, remember that the abuser is a wounded person. I always like to encourage the abuser by saying, you can change. God loves you. You have a loving wife who has stayed with you through all these times. This is a gift from God. Never fight the abuser. Evangelization means that we have come for the sinners, not for the saints. Remember, it is easy to judge the abuser, but by judging the abuser, you continue to make him continue. So I speak on behalf of the abuser and on behalf of the abused. At the end of this paper, you will see what I suggested. If anybody comes to you for help, these are the things you do. Please read it. I don't want to repeat myself. And then when you have questions at the end, we can take your questions. But don't forget, we are not called to judge the abuser. We are not doing this for you because we want the marriage to break. We are pro-marriage. So whether the man has the capacity to keep his vows or not, our responsibility is to help him develop and acquire that capacity through the way we love him. And what we've been called to do in FHLU is to love. God bless you.
Let us give her a full FHLU round of applause. The emotional abuse men experience, you cannot beat a man because most women are not physically able to. But the word of someone you love, the words of someone you love, the man will wish that they had laid him down and just flogged him and went away. Because men grow up with being beaten, Abi? When a boy offends, growing up, the boy gets beaten. You didn't, you're a man, you read free, you beat the man. When it's a girl, they may or may not beat the girl. So when the man gets home and the wife does not beat you because she can't, look at you, useless. So men also go through abuse, and I know you capture them. I hope that there will be more research, and most importantly, I hope that men will speak up. The bravado of I'm a man, and the man will be 50 years old and he will look like he's 90, and the woman will be 80 and she will look like she's 40, because the man is carrying a lot of emotional baggage and trauma. So men, speak up. Encourage other men to speak up, and that we can better. But women, they try, shall yes, it's true. Women are trying. Women are trying, and the statistics are very, very scary. The question I'd like to ask us, is what do we want to do about it? What do we want to do about it? Sometimes the challenge we have as counselors and facilitators is we become judges ourselves, We start to judge the victim, or we start to judge the abuser. And Ms. Swelling has said it clearly, you should love the abuser, because that's what they lack, love. Let's give her one more round of applause. All right. We will now take a short talk from Sholakwe Azazi. We've been hearing all stories, all experiences and expressions. But we want us to live here with the resolve to help lives to change. To help lives to change. If you know someone who is going through an abuse of some sort, we have the tools and the tips to be able to help those people become better. A round of applause for Sholakwe Azazi.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to come here to talk from my heart about something I'm very, very passionate about. And I listened to the first person. She spoke a lot, and then I started changing my story. I mean, I was going to come and tell a story, but I wanted to tell something again from where my story was coming from, because I heard her talk. And also, I've shared my personal story with Mrs. Isoli, and she knows how passionate I am about this. So I would start by taking some from the background story you shared before, Ma'am, coming into. So I grew up in a broken home. My parents were not together, and I did not understand. It was a lot of mental baggage for me. But I remembered when I got to the university and started dating, and I said to myself, whoever I get to marry is going to be for life. I made that mental, decision to do that. And the reason why is because, just like she said, I saw a lot of things that didn't just add up. And I didn't want to repeat a cycle. And so I made a mental commitment, and I'm still making that mental commitment. I'm still checking myself. I'm still making sure that in everything I do, I'm true to that promise I made to myself, that I want to raise my children in a house with a husband and a wife that truly and genuinely care and love each other. Because at the end of the day, it's that love that I can teach the children to be able to break the circle of pain that I went through personally. So my story, quickly. My story is one of advocacy and awareness, and it stems around special needs. It's about my son who has autism. And I will backtrack to the beginning of it. I remembered when I got married to my husband, and I wanted to have children really quickly, because in their family, the first 9 months, there's a baby, and it didn't happen for me. And of course, I started to panic, thinking that means that would something happen? Would my plan to be together forever be, interrupted? All of those things were in my head. Again, remember that I'm coming from a place where that was a big issue. So that baggage I brought with me. Well, I did have a baby. I got pregnant, and I remember that when I got pregnant, 3 months into the pregnancy, the doctor had, done a test, and then they had said to me that, there are some things that you're seeing in the pregnancy, and they have to do further investigation, and further investigation would warrant that I may or may not lose the baby. And I said to them that, what's the end result if I don't do this test? And then they said to me that your child might come up with special needs. So I said to them that God gives children, and if he's going to give me a child with special needs, he understands, that he will give me the weapon and the necessary things to be able to raise this child. And so I took that as a challenge. And I remember when I had my child, my first child, and he came out and there was no signs of physical disability or any special needs whatsoever. And I completely forgot about what the doctor said. I was very elated, I was happy. And speed it down to 15 months, some things were not exactly right, but I didn't take too much, I didn't even think too much about it. But at 20 months, he went mute. And by the time he started talking again, he was baby babble. This is a child that was saying all the words, you know, it was meeting all of his milestones. It was a star child, and he came 20 months and he was not saying anything anymore. He was not doing anything anymore. And so I remember they told me then that, oh, you have to flag your child for autism. And the story is particularly important to me because we're talking about domestic violence. And this on its own leads to a lot of that in a lot of homes, in a lot of families, with a lot of families that I've spoken with over time. So I'll take it back to where I was. So I remember, so they told me that my son, you know, was flagged down for autism. And this is a very large family. When I say it's large, they have lots of grandchildren already. In my own family, I just knew my mom, my dad, and my siblings. And that's how we grew up. I don't know my cousins or anybody like that. So me coming into a very big family that sometimes I'm walking, they say this is to somebody, I'm like, sorry, who? They say, oh, you've met her like 10 times. I'm like, okay, these are children. I'm like, I'm lost. That is how big the family is. And imagine a big family like that they never had or have any child with autism or with special needs. And I come into that family, my first child, and that is the first thing I was saying about my child. You know, and so it was a lot for me. I broke down, and another thing was they couldn't even give me a definitive diagnosis because it was not 3 years. And so they told me that they can only tell me that this is the signs that they are seeing, but they can't give me a diagnosis yet. And I asked them, when can I get an official diagnosis? And they told me, when he's 3. Now this is someone that is 2. And you're telling me when he's 3, I will get an official diagnosis. And it's until then that they can start giving me all the resources that I need to be able to, you know, intervene for my child. So for 1 year, I was not myself. I was a shell of myself. And I've known my husband since year 2001. We even went to the same secondary school, but we didn't know each other then. So this is someone I grew up with. We got married. I've known him the entire of my adult life. And so for that 1 year, we didn't know each other anymore. I would say it's night, he would say it's day, and we would argue. Because we just couldn't, he didn't know I was a shell of myself. I wasn't me anymore. And I remembered when I needed to then go and get an official diagnosis for my son. I said I was going to go alone. Because at that point, I just wanted, you know, like I said, there was that not knowing enough between ourselves anymore. And I sat down in the doctor's office. And when he was talking to me, and I just had another revelation in my head. Because I remembered the first time I sat down in the doctor's office to talk about this child that we're talking about, I made a vow with God. Because the baby was 3 months old in my tummy, and they were telling me special needs might be an issue. And I said, God gives. And if He's going to give me this child, He's going to give me all the tools that I am going to need to raise this child. In fact, they gave me about maybe 10, 15 pages of document to sign. I signed it. I didn't even read the content. I said, what are you trying to tell me? They said, they're telling me to sign this as a release form, that I am aware of the consequences of not taking further testing on this child. And I said, I don't want to know, because I know that I prayed for this child and God gave it to me. And children are gifts. So how can God give a bad gift? It's not possible. So if this is a child I've prayed for, and He has given this child to me as a gift to this marriage, why would He give me a bad gift? And for that 1 year before I got the diagnosis, those were the things I was battling with God for. Because I was like, I prayed, I've done everything, I've been a good person, good girl, good everything, you know, and then you give me these gifts. What do I do with it? You know, But I was in that room again, in that hospital with a doctor, but a different doctor this time around, and they were talking and then they gave me documents again to sign, saying, based on the assessment, this is the result, and I broke down crying. And I remember that the doctors were frightened because it was, of course, it was not in Nigeria, it was in the Oyibo land, and they were afraid that somebody was crying this much in their office, so they called everybody because they were scared, they didn't understand why I was crying. But I calmed them down to tell them that the reason why I'm crying is because I actually signed an agreement with God a long time ago when I said He gives, and when He gives, He will give me the tool. And so from that moment on, when I left their office, I decided to love my child regardless of the diagnosis. And since then, I have been going advocating to parents, to anybody about autism and acceptance, what it is, and how you can accept your child. Because at the end of the day, you see parents who say, oh, the husband left the wife because the wife, they don't know where the child came from. Where did you get this child from? All those kind of things. You hear a lot of that thing. And like you were talking about the emotional baggage, it's a lot. That's abuse on the woman's side, So I tell them, the child is just a gift. The child is not the reason why your love has the issue. The child is a gift. And you have to love that child. You have to accept that child. There's nothing wrong with the child. A child with a disability is not a bad thing. Disability is not a bad thing. It's what we make of it that is important. How we help that child, that is important. Because again, if we don't show the child love and acceptance, the child will never find himself worthy of love. The child will never understand what love is. And if the child doesn't understand what love is, how can the child begin to express love to someone else? It's very important. When we talk about love, when we talk about, showing love, it's very important to know that love is action. Love is not just words that we spit out, but how we practice it is very important. That's all I have to say. Thank you. So this led me to another important part of my advocacy journey, because a lot of times, before now, I talk to adults, and when I talk, I go out and talk to the adults about what autism is, what disability is, and all of that. But I realized that a lot of times when we tell the adults, they don't go back home to tell their children. And the other children are the ones playing with our own children with disability. They don't understand what autism is, or what disability is, or any of those things. And what do to our children? They call them names. They call them Olodo, they call them all sorts of names. They stigmatize them, they scar them. Because when we talk about abuse, we're talking about emotional abuse, mental abuse. These children are suffering it, because imagine a child coming from a home that's all he knows. He goes to school, he sees another child that is different. What does he do? He calls that child a name. So for me, it was very important to write a book, a children's book, to children that will address these kind of topics. So we're not only talking to the adults, but we're also talking and breaking that circle, even from within children. So when they go back home, they can go back home and tell their parents, oh, I learned about this word, I learned about this. It's not a bad thing. This is what it is, and that's where the story of the book came from. And I completely forgot about that, because I was listening to everybody talk and I forgot about what I came to talk about, so. Sorry. Oh, yes, it's available for sale. It's available for sale at the bookshop. Anybody that wants to get the book can contact Martina, and she would tell you how to get it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Solake. Thank you for sharing your story. And something important that she pointed out is the fact that because of disabilities, abuse can start for the wife because of disabilities. A woman can have a child maybe the child has autism or dyslexia or something else, and then the husband will say, our family, they don't have mental problem. It's from your ancestors. There is something wrong with your family. And that is the beginning of the abuse, something like that. It might just be that the child is a bit, not picking up as quickly. And because the parents lack patience and you are comparing other children, I mean, autism is like somebody comes and steals a child's mind in the middle of the night. You can't even begin to explain it to anyone. And the pressure is so much. So Sholape, thank you so much for sharing your story. And thank you for putting it in a book. Whatever God brings our way, whether it is disability or the challenges in a marriage, is a lesson for us to become better Christians. It's a journey and a pain point for us. We heard Miss Flora talk about her childhood challenges. Now she's a psychologist, right? Yes. She's a psychologist. Can you imagine how many people she has helped in her life? So sometimes, some of these challenges, I'm not saying they make it right, but sometimes when we find people who go through these things, we should also be able to encourage them that this journey might be God's way, it might be your cross, you will overcome it, but then what do you do with the lessons that you've learned? Do you become a psychologist and train thousands of people like Flora is doing? Or do you have no stories like that, but you just have that passion to help people? So let's take that away from this. Now I will call on a group, Luxterra, and they work in the advocacy for domestic violence. And I know we are talking about domestic violence a lot here. And it's not just husband and wife domestic violence. It's father-children domestic violence. Because it means that when God wants to save you, He's going to save you. The devil doesn't want families to be happy. The devil doesn't like it. I mean, we just have to understand the devil doesn't like it. And so, whether it is through domestic violence or through disagreements or miscommunication, is the job he wants is that the family should be broken. Because if the family is broken, the society is broken, the country is broken, and the generation is lost. So we have a responsibility to help save lives by saving family. Do we or don't we? Are we going to take it seriously? Yes. All right. Miss Swelly, Monsignor, you heard them. They said they take it seriously. All right. So I will call on Miss Helen from the Luxterra Advocates to please give us, you have 3 minutes to just have this conversation.
FHLU. Good afternoon, Bosian. Good afternoon, everyone. So, we are advocates of Luxterra Foundation from Abuja. We are here to let you know. You already know that violence is existing, but we want to create awareness on how to eliminate sexual and gender-based violence in Nigeria. We've heard from some of us who have spoken, and some others that we hear all over the place. Recently, we hear of a man who shot his wife on the arm because she did not prepare his meal on time. I wonder if he doesn't have hands to prepare food. We've heard of Osinachi. What happened to her? We don't want it to happen to any of us. We don't want it to happen to our children, our cousins, our siblings, and even those we know. And that is why we are here today. So let us know that we can really work together as a team to eliminate sexual and gender-based violence. Since we were given just 3 minutes to talk, we may not be able to say anything, but probably during the breakout section, we will listen to some of you who may have questions, how you want to become part of us. We have a call-in radio program. We have road show that we want to do. We have some other things that we have training. Last Sunday we were in Holy Family Festac, and we had a training for 55 persons on how to eliminate sexual and gender-based violence. Thank you. This is my team member, Adiola. We were in Abuja together in January when we had extensive training on how to eliminate sexual and gender-based violence. Thank you.
Thank you. The Archbishop set up a child safeguarding policy. Monsignor, I said the child safeguarding policy from the Archdiocese. It's because even the Archdiocese takes seriously, taking care of our children and keeping our homes together. Are we learning? Yes. Are we learning? Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. So the next part we are going to go into now is a panel discussion / question and answer session. If you have any question whatsoever, this is our panelists. Of course, we've introduced them earlier. Monsignor, there's some of you, when they ask question about living or not living, all of you were looking at Monsignor, Abi. Monsignor. Because sometimes, even as counselors and facilitators, we might not be able to equip the people that come to us well by saying, the church says no divorce. We just say it and leave it there, and the person is trapped. They say no divorce. Or the church say, for better, for worse. You say this is worse. Let me just go through it. I will survive. So we can ask those questions right now. But I'm going to be anchoring this, and then I hope this microphone will get to the panelists. Yes. So that I will leave this here. So I will ask the first, please, if you have questions, let's know by raising hands, and then I will just give the panelists a few minutes to have a few, those who haven't spoken, just say anything. But first of all, I will ask Monsignor, our parish priest, can you share with us the church's position on domestic violence and your experience as a seasoned member of the clergy on the challenges domestic violence pose in your work?
Let me use my own family as an example to show that not every form of the so-called domestic violence is intended to destroy the family. Things happen sometimes spontaneously. And most of the time, those involved do show remorse. They regret their action and they do apologize. It becomes a problem when it continues over and over and over again for months, for years, and it becomes obvious that one is not really ready to amend his or her life. It is then it becomes a problem. A single action of expression of anger or something does not constitute the domestic violence in the sense we are taking it now as if a big crime has been committed. When I was a little boy, I was about 12 years old in primary school. Yes, primary school at the age of 12. I know nowadays children at 10 o'clock and secondary school. But in my own time, if you are not up to 16, you enter secondary school. I grew up to know that my father used to beat up my mother. And she would cry and cry and cry. And we were too young to intervene. So we simply went to her and sat with her and cried with her. And that was the end of it. Once in a while, she left the house to go to her own elder brother, who was living in the same city, the same town, somewhere else in the town. And that one will come back home with her. And then we don't know what they will talk with my dad and so on. And then we'll go back home, my mother stays in the house, and life continues. Maybe 2 or 3 months after, we see my mother crying again. What happened? We don't know. But the point is that at that time, that's about 1954, 55, there were about, how many of us in the family then? I come from a large family. Anyway, from that moment till 1967, my mother had another child, then another child in 1959. The cries still continued once in a while, The beatings still continued once in a while. But the point is that even after the beating, we don't know whatever happens. The child always comes after. So I'm thinking, is the beating a prelude to having a child? So it means they do settle their problem. When eventually my father died, my mother cried like a baby. And I remember saying, I was a grown-up then, I was senior, so I could now talk to my mother as an adult. I said, Mama, you are crying. But you used to complain about this to my father all the time. Why are you crying now? My mother said, you don't understand. He said, you are my son, but he's my husband. You are not my husband. So she's missing him. So, despite all those seemingly violent attacks, which did not have any bodily harm, things like that, but we saw it anyway, the love was still there. So what I'm saying is that even though domestic violence is not supposed to be part of married life, those who are marrying human beings. They are not marrying angels. There's no perfection in this world. Even marriage is not perfect. And human beings who enter marriage are not perfect. In many of our offices, in my own office, especially here, I have piles of envelopes, of petitions, applications for annulment of marriages. Plenty. I take them one at a time. And everybody slowed down on treating them, hoping that those concerned will come back and say, Monsignor, have you done this? Have you done this? You sit down. Since you wrote this letter, what have you done in the heart of marriage? Have you seen foreign and still fighting? You know, things happen spontaneously. And it's not, we don't base judgment on just that. We give time for reconciliation, for settling, and things like that. It is when the matter has gone out of hand, when you can't do anything about it anymore. When it becomes clear that that person who is violent is actually an animal and nothing can change him, it is then you to look for some alternative action about it. The judicial vicar at Maryland told us that the cases that come to the judiciary for annulment are cases that are dead. When the marriage is dead, that is when it comes to tribunal for annulment. So we should not, just because people quarrel, begin to talk about annulment. No, settle. That's the first thing to do, settle. That's why we have counselors. That's why we have psychologists. That is why we have people who are motivational speakers who can talk sense into a couple. And I know that we have the love and what do you call that, marriage life lived experience of couples who are always quarreling, and at the point they are going to come to the resource center for a special program, which is there was they alone being together. And most of the time, by the time they come out of that place, they become a better couple. They resolve their issues, their love returns, and they continue to live together. We should explore all avenues to settle domestic issues or marriage issues before it becomes violent. And let us not take every violent action as a devilish one. So some are spontaneous and they are just once and for all. It is those that are permanent that seem to be no reconciliation that we worry about. And Mrs. Shady made a statement there. Said, the day of marriage you took a vow. A vow. A vow is a serious thing. It's stronger, deeper than a promise. You can make a promise and break your promise. If you take a vow, God is involved in a vow. And it is dangerous to break a vow you make to God. Don't make a vow you cannot keep. So when you say, I take you, and to have and to hold, as he said, that's a serious commitment. You don't say that to someone you don't know. You don't say that to someone you don't love. So we always say to people, don't rush into marriage. Make sure you are ready for it and you know who you are marrying. By having a long period of courtship so that you are studying each other and know each other well enough. Even if there are some pretense that they are the originals at the early stage of the relationship, you are always presenting the good part of you. You are very gentle, very kind, very pretty. You are always dressing well. Someone give you money. You are, oh, you are the best man. Oh, you are the best this. Then later on, he says, now that I have you, let me show you who I really am. But because human beings are human beings and you are not perfect. Human beings change. So that's why we pray during marriage. Pray for a successful marriage, a blissful marriage, a fruitful marriage. You pray for it, for God to be part of it and to give His grace for it to succeed, not by your own power. So when we see people celebrate 60 years of married life, like we had a couple in this marriage that are married for 60 years, and they still stay together. Two photograph at the age of 60 years, husband and wife holding each other. Just as they did when they were 25 years. They married when the girl was 25, the man was 30. Now they are 60 years in marriage. They still they are taking a photograph. Didn't they have problems in their marriage? They did. But they settled it. That should be an incentive, should be an encouragement. If they can do it, you too can do it. Because the same God who joined it together also joined it together. When you make a vow, keep the vow. We are human beings, no perfection. Therefore, make room for forgiveness. Make room for human weakness. Make room for apologies. And those things will settle a lot of things. As much as possible, don't bring in a third party. It's only when you cannot handle it alone, you bring a third party. Handle your own issue by yourself, man and wife. Most of the time, you succeed in doing it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. If you have questions, you can please write them on a piece of paper.
Monsieur is absolutely right. There is a distinction between what we class as domestic violence and just the fights in the family. Domestic violence is a consistent cycle of recurring violence. It is based on this whole desire to control and make that person serve you, listen to you, be afraid of you, so that you can control the person. As opposed to what Monsieur is talking about, which is usually formed by what I call cultural predispositions. Even in the church, in the early church, some of these things were real. Women are inferior to men. Women were made after Adam. Therefore, they are not the same as men. These are cultural predispositions. I have paid right price. Therefore, I own you. I can correct you. You are of slower intellectual ability. Therefore, I, your husband, will tell you what to do. And if you say no, I will make you do it. These are not ongoing, recurring. They are based on a cultural disposition. When the male superiority is taken away, and the man understands that there is equity in the dignity that they have, equality, he realizes that he's been given his wife as a gift and a protection. That is what we need to do, so that we stop the spontaneous beating in the marriage, in marriages and families, where evil is not intended. All right? So domestic violence, what we class in psychology and counseling as domestic violence, is controlling behavior, isolating behavior. Flora spoke about isolation. Someone who wants to do violence to you, wants to keep you away from your family. Possessiveness and jealousy. You can't talk to anybody. If you are a last child, the husband will say to you, it's because you are a last child, they are spoiling you. You are here now for me to teach you how to marry. So you are not going. They say a man should leave, someone should leave the father and mother. You are leaving. Because you see, what he's talking about doesn't have this form of control. You know? So it is that inordinate, controlling desire to manipulate the woman. That's what we refer to as gender violence. We also see that in offices, where a man sexually harasses a girl he gave a job to. So those are deliberate, planned attacks on the psyche of the person, not the spontaneous anger you express. Do you get the distinction? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that clarification. You know, but on a more serious note, personally, I believe that men should not even be given any encouragement to consider that, you know, you can be violent. How can we encourage men, not to even exhibit those hasty anger? Because maybe it's because we don't think that there are consequences. Maybe if you do it like that and the woman bring out cutlass, the man will just start saying Hail Mary. I'm just saying, what can we do? And also, in retrospect, can we also encourage women to bridle the tongue a bit?
Okay, I just want to comment on the last thing he said, because I hear my daughter these days say, especially when we're talking about domestic violence, a man beating his wife, somebody hits somebody. And I used to hear her say, before he even raises his hand like this, I will just tell him, Abel, hold on, let me go back to my father's house. You see, I've heard it, and now I'm beginning to think of it. And then I've also heard her say, when they are beating these women, is it that they don't know the road to the kitchen? Are there no knives there? You see? And then I've heard them discussing, and I hear someone say, is there no stool on the ground that you can use to hit this guy back? Why is the man beat you? Don't you have hands? I've heard them discussing. Friends, young. So what Femi is saying is really very important. Because it's not whether we discuss it here. It's now their mindset. They've seen it. And like although Monsignor is saying it's spontaneous, it's love, but we really need to find a way to teach our children, okay? Not to take violence or to be beaten, but to at least, maybe during courtship, watch out for the signs and discuss it. And let the guys know, hope you are not the type that beats, or if you notice it, or maybe during premarital classes, we can actually discuss it and let the two of them talk and say, hope you will not, because I think we should start it from there, so that from the onset, the issue of one hitting the other does not come in. Because most of these children these days are not going to wait for you to hit them and go. Thank you.
Well, what Femi said, his last statement, can we teach our daughters to bridle their tongues? You see, there's something going around on the platform. A girl went to the mother and said, I want to kill my husband. And the mother gave her water and some other things. Say, when you feel that, just swallow that water. After 2 weeks, he said, the medicine I'm giving you will kill the man slowly so that you will not be suspected. After 2 weeks, the girl went back and said, Mama, I don't want to kill him again. What has happened? She found that one, her tongue was no longer blowing fire. She was no longer eyeing the man as, who be this? And so that problem was solved. Of course, oftentimes our daughters see the sign of violence. My wife's nephew came to attend law school with us. And he had my wife and I having the marriage charter. And he asked the mother, the aunt, do women talk back at men? And that was a lawyer in the making. Do women talk back? I said, yeah. My wife then said, but we are human beings together. So one must also teach our daughters to value themselves. And of course, Monsignor, please forgive me, marriage is not a do or die. Oftentimes, we marry the person's portfolio. She has figure 8. We are not marrying the human being. If you don't marry the human being, you may be marrying an animal. That's the bottom, that's the greatest challenge we are having. Regrettably, this thing is creating, when in my days, we come and we start discussing about ourselves. This is a boy and girlfriend are in the house. Everybody is browsing. When do they have time to talk about themselves and to recognize the feelings? Because during that discussion, you will get hints of what the family is. If he tells my father is always beating my mother, of course that's enough reason for you to watch out. I was just telling my sister here now, a lawyer, my goddaughter will say she prefers to cry inside air conditioner than crying outside the air conditioner. So she was prepared to marry wet as long as she can. But I then reminded her, you see, you may find out when that cry comes, even the air conditioner will not cool you. And funny enough, I was coming from outside one day. I met herself and the boy inside the car in front of my house. When the boy had gone, I said, are you saying my house is not good for you, for the boy to enter? He says, oh, the father told her that until you are serious with a boy. And what was he was going out with these people in Maturi who hawk. But when the boy is coming to visit her, he will go and hire a big car to impress her. That was what saved that girl from going into that house. So I said, marriage is not a do or die affair. And I always tell my daughter, if you don't borrow another woman's husband, because they borrow and don't return. When you borrow another woman's husband, you're already borrowing a cost on yourself. And the man is likely, like I told my sister-in-law those days, you will take the fault of all the previous women and forget about your own, and then to be violent.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Somebody asked a question here. Maybe I'll have Miss Flora answer this question. I hope, because she's a psychologist, she's a lecturer, and so she can answer this. Why is it that we hear only of men as abusers? How can we help men to speak up? I know you are not a man, but I just believe that you have the experience to be able to answer this question. I know this is a man that asked this question. It has to be a man.
Okay. First things first, we need to start from when they are boys. From the onset, we are telling our children, the female, oh, you can cry. But when a boy hits his legs, and then you say, you're a man, you shouldn't be crying. Do you want your sister to see you crying? Please, God, shut up. You're already dominating their mind not to speak. There are lots of women, lots of men, there are women who beat them, but they are not saying it. Why? Because we've preconditioned their mind to be the oga, the king, to not say anything. So where do we start? From the onset, allow your children to be expressive, the man, the boy, and the girl. We say that women talk, yes, because we allow them to say, okay, who beats you? They will point. But when something happens to the boy, you say, man up. You can't be crying in front of small girls now. You have to. And that's how they grew up. So, first things first, condition their mind that they are human first before being man. They need to express whatever is happening to them. As they grow up, they understand that they could comfort and speak with other people. Also, the men who are our fathers should show example of vulnerability to these boys as they are growing up, not manning up at all times. Share your stories with men as well, so that they will know that you are going through a lot, and from the onset we'll start telling our children what to do and what not.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for her. You see, it was that thing you said there is very, very important. There are some 30-year-old men that have the emotional intelligence of a 7-year-old boy. There are 30-year-old men, but their emotional intelligence is of a 7-year-old boy. So the only place they go to is fear and anger. The only thing that society recognizes for men is that you can be angry. Society validates anger in men. The only time a man can cry, is allowed to cry, is when you are watching football and Chelsea loses. If you cry, you are allowed to cry. Am I correct? If you cry, hey, my team lost, maybe you are crying all the problems you have before. You add everything together and just add it to Chelsea. The society allows you to show those expressions. You know? I'm going to double those questions. Maybe Mrs. Swelly, madam, I'll give you a question now. Maybe Mrs. Swelly can answer this question because I know there's. Can we have a unified topics in our marriage preparatory classes in the Archdiocese of Lagos? I know that you can answer that question, and let me double this one with it. What do you do when a spouse who is abusing his partner verbally, without being willing to change, refuses counseling? What do you do?
We have a curriculum. We're very happy to present this to you. And the Archbishop and the 2 bishops of the province got together and got people to write, and they reviewed it, and they have said this is what we're using. So that's the first step. So congratulations to our bishops, and in particular to our Archbishop, and in particular to our consultants. Our patron here is one of our consultants. So they have really done well, and the whole thing has come from the Judicial Vicar's office. So they have been concerned about the problems. So we thank God for this, and we just hope now that the work ahead of us is to train people who can use the curriculum. Second question.
How do you get somebody who there's an abuse and the person has refused counseling? What do you do?
One of the things I teach in counseling course is that psychologists and psychiatrists have discovered that the best people to deal with such people are actually church workers, because church workers are propelled by the desire to change and bring love and to heal. And so it's to give time to that person to see how you can enter into a relationship with that person. To see how, and that means whoever, because domestic violence is different from, it's an SOS situation. It's not something you can say, I'll wait for you to come tomorrow. And so the counselor should have should have a team where if a person comes to for counseling and says, I am being beaten by my husband or wife and he won't come, I think the team should sit down and plan an outreach to that person of love, not of judgment. And I have found that when we do that, they actually come. But when you start with, so you beat your husband or whatever, and I know that a gentleman called me one day, and the first thing he said to me was, I'm calling you because I beat my wife. And I said, you didn't even say good morning to me. Immediately he relaxed. He said, I said, you've confessed. Let's move on to how we can resolve it. So there was no point going on, how did you beat her? What did you do? Because he's ashamed of it. So you just also have to, I have dealt with a few people. It's difficult for them, but I think we have to make the effort. I am not saying it works. I'm not saying it will always work, but it is a long haul, a very long haul.
So another comment is, somebody says, this is Bob Onwu Liri. I wish to contribute that when a father abandons the wife because they have a challenged child, it's not just an abuse on the woman, but also an abuse on the child. And we agree with that. There's a question. How do you get an abused person who is bent on protecting the abuser to speak out and not protect or shield the abuser?
From my own point of view, most times couples don't want to expose each other for the sake of what the society will say. There is one film I watched. This man drove her wife and a new baby born outside the house while sleeping with the mother of that man is sleeping comfortably inside his son's house. Some people came to help, but the lady was afraid. Instead, she maintained that the husband is not abusing her, that it's all about, I didn't prepare his food, and short, by the time I come back, it was late, he was angry, actually I'm the one at fault. The people that came to convince her that this is not the way marriage should be lived, she didn't want to hear. So for me, it will take a lot of encouragement to tell this person that is abused that what you are seeing is not the right way to live as husband and wife. And it will take time for you to convince such a person, because I'm seeing one myself. The people abusing them, some of them don't even know that what they are doing is wrong. And because of the orientation given to to women in general when they were kids, they don't see what the bad treatment meted to them by their spouse as being violence. So a situation you don't even know that this thing is wrong, how would you want to go for counseling? Whoever goes for counseling knows that there is problem at hand. But if you are not able to know that there is problem at hand, so how can you see it as a problem? Having said that, the counselors or those who are interested in helping should find a time to talk to this person that is abused. It's not a situation of asking, why did you do this or what, like Madam said. It can be ordinary, normal conversation, friendly conversation, so that this person can speak out and then you give advice. Then secondly, many people that are abused want some kind of confidentiality. They wouldn't want others to know what is going on in their family. So you, who is eager to help such a person to go for counseling, must keep their confidential matters confident. Having said that, the majority of us sitting down here, we condemn violence, that is true, but our action promotes violence. You have sons, you have daughters. Those sons of yours will be somebody's husband in the future. What are your parenting style and skills? You have daughters. Those daughters of yours will be someone's wives in future. What are your technicalities in rearing them up? Like one man said, the quality you wouldn't want your child to exhibit. What happens? Don't show it in the presence of that child. So as parents, what you see us suffering today has been an ongoing thing. But in the past, people never saw it as something dangerous. We are looking at it today because it is creating more danger. And since it has started, you can't give 100% solution immediately. Instead, let us go to the drawing board, parents. Check the way you train your boy child, the way you train your girl child. Are we really available? Somebody, when we started, the MC was asking, what are the challenges? I had a voice somewhere saying availability. Hello? Are we together? Yes. How many parents are available? I'm not expecting you to answer, but it should be a food for thought. When these children manifest the violence act in their tender age, parents, did you notice that? Of course, you did not correct. And this child will grow up thinking that that is a normal thing to do. So I think this conference gives every one of us, including myself, the opportunity to go home and check our children, how do they behave. We know very well that a lot of us, we hustle to make sure that the food on the table. But that is not at the expense of training your children. Very, very important. So having said that, my brothers and sisters, the person that is suffering from violence, how can we convince the person to go and speak out? It's a personal thing. You, the person who wants to help, know the type of person you want to help. And then, with confidence and some words of wisdom, the person will surely come and open up. And then, you render whatever help you want to render. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, man. A round of applause for her. In fact, I like the set of questions that I'm getting. And one of the good things about being in a conference like this is because, you know, and you get a chance to open up and ask some questions. Because we all don't know everything, do we? No, we don't. So somebody has asked this question. I don't know who, maybe Mrs. Welly will answer it or Shalakwe will answer it. I would have said the man should answer it, but the answer might favor us men. But let me ask this anyway. What will you suggest to a woman who is solemnly responsible for the training of all the children, and his family does not care to know what you are passing through, and the man is hale and hearty, but ready to work? In another way, and this is personal, not to me, to the person. In another way, my husband is very healthy, but not ready to work and support the training of the children. What is your advice to me? Should I continue training the children all alone? Should I quit? Should I stop giving the man food? We had food, now we laughed. Okay. How do you expect me to respect and honor this man? Sir, they said I should give this question to you. They said the man is, what is your advice? He's not ready to work and support the training of the children. What is your advice? Should I continue training the children all alone? Should I quit? Should I stop giving the man food?
First of all, Femi has been violent against me today. You put me among 4 women. What do you want me to say? That's oppression of men by a man oppressing me now. However, yes, come to the question. Yes, is it that the man is incapable of working or his earnings are not enough? We need to be... Huh? Is it deliberate? What is it, like what I've said, we need to know what happened before then. What gave rise to the fact that he doesn't want to work? Why doesn't he want to work? Because the pride of every man is to work and put food on the table. However, remember that the child is of the man and the woman. So if the woman is capable of training, I don't see why you should stop the children's education because your husband, based on what we have had, is acting irresponsible. That's what I will say. You must train the children. A number of us were trained by our mothers. So we need to know, is he capable of working, or he just doesn't have the ability to work? He may have a problem that you don't know. Huh? No, he's not expressing, this is expressing violence. Yes, it is. My daughter read a quotation to me that a man who cannot take care of his home is worse than an infidel. So if you are healthy not to work and you refuse to work, it's domestic violence against your wife and children. Because one of the canon responsibilities of a man is to provide for his house. But I want to know, like I said before, is it deliberate on the man? Or there could be something we don't know that is giving rise to that man being unwilling to work. It could be an ugly experience. We don't know. So except we know that it will be difficult for me to answer that question. But the woman should not stop because the children belong to both of them. And they can't ruin the children because of hatred for the man. And then there's a violence we are not talking about. I know Madam said the mother was asking, her mother was asking, telling her her visa has expired. You see, many of our children are being violent against us. They take their mothers away. When the daughter gives birth, they do a mugo. When the son's wife they do a mugo. So the woman is getting to say, oh, this one is pregnant again, let me just wait. And we are not, the men are silent sufferers. It's violence, it's not, that's not verbal violence. It's most often there are many.
FHLU, making our families better. Please, let's not allow, there are too many distractions in the hall, please. Like my brother said, you are not going to abandon your children because of the man. So for me, irrespective of his reason, they are still your children. So take care of them. You can take care of the man if you can. If you still can. But don't do it out of bitterness. Because then you will no longer be offending the man. You'll be offending God. And you have taken some vows in church before God. So, and to love, or better, or worse. It's not as if you cannot afford it. It's a different thing if you cannot afford to do it. Then you now provide for yourself and your children. Especially if you have to go out to ask and to beg. Of course you cannot, because you are struggling to actually feed the children. But if you can afford it, I think you should go ahead and take care of him. And let the guilt continue to maybe worry him to the extent that he will change. And if you can, like my brother said, we need to find out, because it doesn't end here. What are his reasons? what is that thing that has happened? There has to be some discussions around that. So if she has to call in somebody, maybe a priest, somebody to come and talk to him and find out what, because I'm sure there is more to this story than meets the eye. Thank you.
A parishioner came to me and told lots and lots of stories. It was challenging to meet the man because the man had never seen me, and I didn't want my meeting him to create problems. It's just then the novena to St. Anne and Joachim was on, and I was posting to the man and posting to the woman. After the third day, the man was like, "Who is this?" And I introduced myself that this Joachim and Anne, grandfathers of Jesus. We are praying in novena for all married couples. And just last week, the man and the woman came to church holding their hands. If I had met the man, I'm sure I'm not certain I would have got that. But I kept sending him those novena prayers every day. But last week they came to church holding, and for a long time they have never attended morning masses. But that Friday, they came to the morning mass, and with the woman beaming from all her sides.
All right, so we're learning. Thank you very much. Have we learned a thing or two? Yes. Have we learned a thing or two? Yes. All right, thank you very much. I'll hand over the... I should go ahead. Let me hand over the award ceremonies to Martina. She's the face of FHAU that you see with her lovely pink bow. Thank you very much. A round of applause for Patrick.
FHLU, making our families better. I'm so happy today, and I'm sure we have all learned and gained a lot in different dimensions, in different levels. The Lux Therapy people will still tell us a lot more after these awards. So, you know that Femi did something while we were here, and he was saying, this denarii, this denarii, this denarii. And then we had the Maryland denarii, and we were, wow. So for he who works well, there's always something, a reward when you work well. So we have chosen this, this moment to say thank you to every one of us, first of all, but particularly to those that have pushed and pushed. And are also using this opportunity to encourage others that are still pushing to push further. So in a special way, we would like to recognize a few of us here, and one of them being in the person of Mrs. Uche Naibe. So, Service Appreciation Award presented to Mrs. Uche Naibe for your outstanding contributions to the Family and Human Life Apostolate as FHLU Deanery Coordinator of Maryland Deanery. Thank you so much. Thank you for all you do. Even on the alumni, you see her gingering and gingering and gingering others. Thank you so much. We appreciate you, man. God bless you. So another person we would like to appreciate this afternoon is Dr. Adelabu. Dr. Adelabu is the Deanery Rep of Yaba. Yaba is also doing so well. For your outstanding contributions to the Family and Human Life Apostolate as FHLE Deanery Coordinator of Yaba Deanery. So this award is for our own very dear Monsignor Bernard Okodwa. In recognition of your generous contribution to the welfare and development of the Family and Human Life Unit, Lagos Archdiocese. Monsignor, thank you so much. There has never been a time that he says no. He has never said no. He's always, always, always available. I started my journey with him, sending me for training. So he has always been very generous and very supportive. Thank you so much, Monsignor.
Monsignor, we love you to bits.
We love you very much.
We love you so, so much. Thank you for all you do for FHMU and for the encouragement you give us. God bless your ministry more and more. We're so proud of you. Thank you. Father Victor has been listening to a lot of what has been said, and he has some recommendations. I'd like him to do it now.
Thank you very much. FHLU. I'm grateful for this moment and to say what I have to say. I think it's just divine providence that you called me because Sholanko is about leaving and I have something also to say to her. Maybe I should start with you so that you can go. Thank you very much for sharing your story. At some point in time, you became very emotional. But I think that the message for me personally and for the church, I think it's high time we started putting people like this in our prayers. I came from a parish where every Saturday they prayed for children. I'm not sure how many parishes do that. I'm just saying, I'm not sure how many parishes do that. But they pray for children, but not children with special needs. So I think that that is one of the big takeaways from here. We should pray for them and pray for their parents. We can only imagine, we never know, we can only imagine how difficult it is. But if there's anything again, you talked about being intentional. And when one of the talks was going on, somebody remarked and said something about emotional intelligence. People talk about intelligent quotient. But there's another angle. They talk about persistent quotient. And there was a time an experiment was done between a particular race, I don't want to mention, and the Asians. And they found out that the Asians had more persistent quotient than the other race. I think that part of what you're teaching us today is to be persistent in doing what is right. So I want to say thank you very much. And I pray that God's strength and God's grace will be with you. Amen. Thank you very much. Very quickly, I think I'd like to be called Flora. And one of the things that you highlighted was forgiveness. And you talked about the book, Science of Forgiveness. I can't remember his name, maybe it's one Everett or something. But there is another physicist. I was able to read about him because I was writing something on, it's just a small article. I've lost my nerves to forgive. And I see that forgiveness is something that is not just spoken about in the spiritual or religious realm. A lot of psychologists have actually said, and even doctors, medical doctors have talked about the place of forgiveness, in well-being and healing. And I want to say that you're a mentally strong person, having battled all that you've battled and being able to stand here to tell us your story. It is on this note that I want to make a little recommendation. I have a book here. It's called 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do by one Amy Morin. I'll just take the first two. The first one is mentally strong people don't sulk. It's like saying they don't cry over spilled milk. The second one is mentally strong people don't give away their powers. And that is what you decided to do. You didn't want to give away your power, so you decided to forgive. Because as Frank Haley says, when we do not forgive, why people have a hard time forgiving is because human beings have a hard time living in the present. So we are always dwelling in the past. So when you see that person who has hurt you, you give away your power because that person has the power to control how you feel. So when you see the person, you're grumpy, you're squeezing your face, you're unhappy because you haven't forgiven. But once you forgive, that person has no power over you. So thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for giving us that example of being mentally strong. And then finally, I see that we've talked about good parenting. Just a small joke, a small story. So I was telling somebody about this book, 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do. And the person asked that I get a copy for her. I went into the bookstore and I was looking and I saw it. I know that I have it in red color. And then I saw the other copy in yellow. And I just read 13 Things Mentally. I was like, that's the book. And I pulled it out. And I started looking on the back of the book. And I found out that what I had read in this one was different. And then I looked at the topic, not the content, the topic again. And it reads, 13 things mentally strong parents don't do. Some of the questions that we asked here, I just want to highlight something. One, mentally strong parents don't condone victim mentality. Oh, you're a man, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. We talked about that here. The other one, they don't make their child the center of the universe. Oh, this child is doing academically well than the twin. What should be done? They don't let their child avoid responsibility. Another one, they don't confuse discipline with punishment. So what I'm saying in essence is, I'm making these two recommendations. One, 13 things mentally strong people don't do, and 13 things mentally strong parents don't do, by the same author, Amy Morin. Mrs. Siswedi, you said a lot, and you know, each time I see you, it's always a delight, and I cannot stop talking about the work that you're doing. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you very much.
We're also giving you an honor. For your outstanding leadership and selfless service to the family and human life unit, and for the promotion of family apostolate in the Catholic Archdiocese of Lagos. So we didn't just think about her alone. We also thought of our husband. Though he's not here today. Yes. I had spoken with him, and though he's not here physically, but he's here spiritually. He has always accompanied her to every ever-changing activity and event. Though he's not here, but we'd like to also honor him. So this is for your husband, man. We want to say thank you to him for all he has been doing and keeps doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Monsignor. Thank you, Martina. This is a surprise. So I want to thank you, Martina, to thank her for this. She has planned this single-handedly. I pretty much left her to run this conference and see the success that she has made. I want to thank you, Martina. You are an amazing support. Before Martina came, I used to maintain the family office by myself, financially. Paying salaries, running the office, paying the rent. When Martina took over, she made sure I stopped by ensuring that we have students for all our courses. I want to thank you for that dedication. She made sure every year she struggled to ensure that we had sufficient students to pay for the overheads of the FACILITATORS. want to thank all of you because you are part of this success. If you had refused to come for the trainings, we wouldn't have had the money. And if you'd refused to say yes to her, we wouldn't have had anything. And so it is good to have an assistant who is able to do so much. I am glad that Tim is here right at the time I want to talk about him. The support that she has is as a result of the teamwork that their marriage is, Martina and Tim. Tim, I want you to come forward, Tim.
Mr. Ozegbe, we know you are not that busy. Please come forward.
WWME for us. I want to say a special thank you to Tim. I used to say that I need a man to teach the natural family planning because I had an experience when I went to give a talk in Owerri. And it was a talk on sexuality. And when I finished, I asked those who were having difficulties with sexuality, sex in marriage. It was a class of facilitators of NFP, instructors. So I said, anyone having trouble with their husband or wife should please see me. My flight is leaving in 2 hours, and I'll see maybe 10 people to just see what we can do with sexual therapy. When I got outside, almost the whole hall was on the queue. And I realized that sex in marriage is an issue. And so I started paying attention to that. And I needed a man who had a good relationship with his wife to promote natural family planning, because most men say no to it. And last year, Tim has taken over hook, line, and sinker our training on natural family planning. And it is so authentic and such a great witness to have a man talk about sexual discipline, to have a man talk about NFP, which involves loving a wife even more. It's not the sexual act as much as the team spirit that they display, which they have brought to the unit. Please help me to appreciate it. Thank you, Martina. Thank you, Tim. I want to thank all of you then. Every single one of you that is here today. Some of you haven't actually been for the course, but you're here, showing your interest in the apostolate. In any little way, we show our interest in the apostolate, God rewards us amazingly. There is nothing dearer to God's heart than marriage. It's the last created thing, the crown of glory of his creative capacity. And so when we honor marriage, we honor his handwork, and we honor him through it. I want to say thank you for all of you who have stayed. I know many of you are working on the ground, helping us in various ways. My thanks reach out to you. Those of you who need more help to help your parish in the apostolate, we are ready to support you. Just remember that there are just only 3 of us in the family office, so it's not as if we're a society. We are just there to be triggers, pushing you to do the work. We are not the workers ourselves. You are the workers. And whatever you do in your parishes mirrors, of course, the support that we give you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to thank the alumni, the Mrs. Imwagene and Mrs. Ucho. They are part of the organizing committee, the governing committee of the alumni. That is all those who have gone through the classes of FHLU. If you are not in the alumni and you've done a course with us, please call Martina to put your name on the alumni. The 2 people are here. I don't know if any other member of the committee. Okay. Thank you very much, all of you. Please, can members of the committee be upstanding? Out to many people, but we have reached out. They are reaching out and they're doing a whole lot. I listen to their conversations, although I don't join them on the WhatsApp. So thank you very, very much. He's a very diligent man and keeps our accounts on point. Thank you, Tim, Mr. Akoro, for what you're doing, and may God bless you and your family. And finally, to the great Monsignor, thank you very much. I want to thank our speaker and my dear friend who was an original resource person with me, Agnes Mudu. Thank you, Flora, for your beautiful, beautiful talk. And I just pray that we can continue to work together and structure anything we're doing through the Archdiocese. One thing I like about the Catholic Church, when you spend time doing things in the Catholic Church, it's not wasted. It's not wasted. There are priests to continue it. There are structures to continue it. And it is just the best thing to do. It's good to set up your own things outside. It's very good. But when you also work here, you leave behind nothing in your name. It's not about your name. But you do a lot for the church. And you are sure that what you have done, God will take over and increase. So please get going. Go into your parishes and just push. God bless you all.
A round of applause for Mrs. Itsweli. A round of applause. Thank you so, so much for all the work you do.
I want Lumen Christi Television to please pass on our thanks to Prince Olagunju, who is giving us recording this conference. I want to also thank the Catholic Herald, the reporters from Catholic Herald. God bless you.
Thank you so, so much. Luke Stera, can you tell us about the programs you have?
My name is Adiola Onosoya. I am an advocate for luxury advocacy for sexual and gender-based violence. I am a teacher, and in January, I was given an opportunity to have an intensive training with over 40 set of people all over Nigeria. And we were educated, we were enlightened, and we were empowered to be a voice to eliminate sexual and gender-based violence. Because of the time frame, and because we don't want to take too much of our time, because what we actually have, we have heard it from the previous speakers, and the questions and the answers are what we also talk about and engage in. But what we also do is not just about sexual and gender-based. We are looking for ways to eliminate it from our families, to educate our younger ones, our parents, and even our neighbors on how to eliminate it. And therefore, we always have trainings. We have radio programs where we go there to enlighten the society at large. And she, as an advocate, in her place of work, she speaks on these sexual and gender-based, and I, as a teacher, we are using our areas of influence to educate and to enlighten. And that is why we also came here, to come and create the awareness that it is not only meant for some special set of people. You can join us as an advocate. We can all fight this together. And so we can be invited to your local churches or to your programs. If you're a school owner, we can be invited to come and speak, to educate our younger ones, most especially in this time and season that we are, to let us know the implication of, accepting some form of abuse from people who are using power. As we all know, we have different types of power, and even we have the opportunity to speak. There are a lot of powers that people are using to abuse others. It can be financial power, money. What type of power do we have? Economic power, that is also financial power. They can use their age power, social power, and all of this. And we realize that especially in my own areas of influence, little children are often in the abuse of social power, a situation where they don't have a say, maybe because they are living with somebody that is not their parent. So this is what we advocate for, to speak against it and to help as many people who are suffering from it, through psychological and also through means of getting into agencies that can help, especially women that are going through abuse in their marriages, children going through abuses in their marriages. So if you want our contacts, we can easily give it to you before we go. Thanks for the opportunity. We appreciate, and we appreciate what Mama is doing, and for all that you have been doing. I learned a lot today, even much more than I came in with. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Adeola. Thank you. A round of applause. Thank you very much. So please, if you would like to know more about what they do, please reach out to them. We'll ask Mrs. Agnes Nwaudu. Where are you, Mrs. Agnes? Is she close by? Oh, yes, sorry. Can you imagine? I was expecting you to come from that way. You're welcome.
Marriage and Family Life Unit. Please, you should not forget that greeting. So I'm going to repeat it again. Marriage and Family Life Unit. Okay. MFHLU. You know, as an old school, we are bound to make mistakes. Please, on behalf of the Marriage and Human Family Unit, we want to say thank you for coming. First of all, we want to thank Monsieur, who has always been at beck and call each time the unit calls him. Monsieur, thank you very much. Also, I want to thank our able and capable dynamic Dame Isueli. This is a woman very different from any other woman I have seen before. Actually, she's my mentor. Thank you, ma'am, for all you have been doing to restructure families, the way they live and the way they behave or live the marital life. I want also to thank all our speakers. Dr. Flora, you're a big gift to this conference today. May the Lord continue to enrich your knowledge, which you share to people to bring solutions to their different problems. I want to thank the organizers of this conference. Kudos, you are wonderful. And finally, you, the alumni. If you didn't agree to be here, like Madam said, there is nothing the marriage team would have done. So thank you very much for your contributions, for being present, for everything possible you have done so that today's occasion will be a success. My sincere prayer is that as you go home, may the Lord lead you home safely. And the knowledge each and every one of us acquired here today, God help us to make use and bring a better living marital relationship through Jesus Christ our Lord. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Ma. Thank you. A round of applause for her one more time. So we know clearly that domestic violence in Catholic home is a wound on marital love. So we go out and ensure that we are advocates to help heal the wounds of domestic violence. Help us, we are better equipped, we are better enabled and empowered, and the Holy Spirit will help us to do better through Christ our Lord. We would humbly request, oh, you have some.
Please, can we all stand up and clap for our MC?
Thank you, ma. Thank you very much. I didn't expect that. Thank you very much.
Sing together. To God be the glory, great things we have done. So loved He the world that He gave us His Son, who yielded His life an atonement for sin, and open the last gate that all may go in. Praise the Lord, praise the Lord, let the heavens hear His voice. Praise the Lord, praise the Lord, let the people rejoice. Oh, come to the Father, through Jesus the Son, and give Him the glory, great things He has done. Reply to their patronage. O Holy Mother of God, despise not our prayers and our necessities, but deliver us from all dangers. O ever glorious and blessed Virgin Mary. May the blessing, the peace, and the love of Almighty God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit descend upon you all, and remain with you now and forevermore. Amen.